Students, this is Lindsay here at our Wolf Creek campus. We have Pam here from Century College to talk about the FAFSA, so you guys can get some more information about what it is and steps to take to apply so you can pay for college.
Well, I'm glad that you're here. My name is Pam Ingebrigtsen. I am the director of financial aid at Century College. I've been working in higher education and financial aid about twice as long as you've been alive. And welcome everyone. We're going to talk about why you want to apply for financial aid, why college is important, and then afterwards I'll be able to spend additional time with you to be able to go through your FAFSA process. So it's a short presentation that we're going to talk about. So let's go ahead and get started. College. One of the reasons why I chose to go to college is it wasn't because I loved to take tests. It wasn't because I loved to read books. It wasn't because I loved to do homework. But really, for me, I wanted to be able to get a good paying job, to be able to have a standard of living that seemed appropriate for me. Important for me to be able to go to college because I came from a low-income household. It was my way to be able to get into a career field that allowed me to be able to pay bills, have a family, and meet my needs. And so many people, that's also why they're going to college. They might be fascinated with learning. There might be certain career options that you want to explore. But many people are going to think about college because it allows you to be able to have better job outlooks in the long run. It allows you to be able to have better paying jobs. And some of the things that we'll talk about tonight is what does that college mean for you? How much is it going to cost? How do you finance it? What does that mean for you long term for the rest of your life? So when you job market, what you're going to hear about, and I'm sure that you're hearing about it already from your counselors while you're in high school, if you're paying any attention to the media, is today's workforce really needs to be a very educated workforce. And so when many people are going to look at going to college to be able to get those additional skills and knowledge that they need to be successful in the workplace. And more careers, occupations, and businesses are looking at students to be able to have some education beyond high school, allows you to be able to think critically, to be able to solve problems, to be able to communicate well, to be able to work with your teammates. And so that's why a lot of people are thinking college. You've got your own reasons for going to college, but we're here to be able to make sure that college is possible for you. What does a college education or going to college possibly mean for me in the long run? This is actually a little bit old. It's probably about 3 years old. And when it was posted, it was probably a couple of years old because it basically comes from the U.S. federal government. If they didn't have a high school education, they would earn $30,000 a year. If they've got a school education, that's going to increase their earning capacity. But when you're looking at what does an education really do for you, you look at some colleges, it certainly is going to help. But students who have four-year degrees are going to typically earn at least twice as much as someone who has limited education. So it does show that there is significant value when it comes to monetary income on an annual basis. And when you think about your lives, right now you're currently less than 20. You'll probably be working about 60 or so. That means you've got about 40 years of earning capacity. So if you have a difference between those two, times 40 years, that gets to be a lot of lifetime earnings that can make a difference by what an education can do for and your livelihoods. Colleges that are available, there's a plethora of schools that are going to be available to you. So what you're going to want to do is decide what's going to be a good fit for you. What schools are you looking at? I know when my daughter went off to college, she's like, I don't even know where to start, Mom. What am I supposed to do? And what I did is I said, number one, how close to home do you want to be? And she wanted to be able to drive home when I want to. So she said, I want to be within 2 to 3 hours. It's like, okay, that's 100 to 150 miles. And just draw a circle around where you live and say, okay, what schools are within that geographic region? That was important to her. We're going to say, I want to be far away. I want to go to a very large institution. I want to go out of state. I want to go to a school that's going to offer liberal arts education. I want to learn more to become an electrician. But you get to decide where your interests lie and where your passions lie. Look at the schools here in the state of Minnesota. This will give you an idea of some of the cost information that's available. Many will choose schools similar to Century College because they're going to be the lowest cost institution in the state. So, for example, students at our institution, when they apply for financial aid, if they come from a household that doesn't have significant income, Generally, their grants are going to be enough to cover tuition fees and books. And so free application for federal student aid, that's enough money to cover their basic college expenses. May not be enough to cover transportation expenses, may not be enough to cover rent and food, but a lot of times students will also choose to live at home, which makes living very affordable. And then we have the other options that are available. There's also public four-year institutions that you can choose. So the four-year institutions for you would be a Metro State, St. Cloud State, Mona State, Mankato, and I'm mixing their names and using some of their old names, but those would be the Minnesota State universities. You've got the University of Minnesota, you've got Duluth, which would be just north of you, you have the Twin Cities campus just south of you, which is again a public institution funded by the state of Minnesota with slightly higher tuition. You've got private for-profit institutions that are going to offer similar programs to what your two-year colleges are going to offer, and a huge variety of private colleges are available that are going to offer programs. So I'd encourage all students to be able to shop around. What does that school have to offer you? What are you looking for in an education? What do you want in that school that you're going to attend? And use decisions to be what you're going to find to be important to you, so it's a good fit. The most important thing when I do presentations to students is the best you can do to be able to use your time effectively is to complete your classes. The students are starting and stopping. It takes them longer to be able to complete their education. It's going to cost you more money in the long run. You're paying for credits that you aren't completing and that you get to retake again. So the thing you can do is start your classes, complete your classes, work with advisors to make sure that you're on track to complete educational goals. And how you go to college is basically by completing the free application for federal student aid. So that's what the FAFSA stands for, free application for federal student aid. It's your single application for federal and state financial aid programs. If you look at some of those four-year private institutions, they may have secondary applications that you need to complete in addition to the free application for federal student aid. But typically the FAFSA is going to be your very, very first start to applying for financial aid. And we'll talk about the financial aid programs are. Typically for students of age, you're applying for financial aid, you're putting your information on it as the applicant. You're typically going to provide parent information on your free application for federal student aid. And all of the information that you put with every single answer goes into your FAFSA to determine what type of financial aid you could receive. Financial aid is going to look different at all of those different schools that you may be looking at. With the application, you can apply for up to 10 different schools all at the same time. So you can list up to 10 schools. So if you're still exploring all of your options, and I encourage you to explore your options, list as many schools as you want to on that single application. Have all of those colleges work on processing your financial aid. And if money is important to you, wait for those financial aid award notices to come in before you make a commitment to a school. And then 10 schools, whatever school you decide that you're not going to attend, just let them know that you're not planning on attending. They'll say, thank you, we wish you well, cancel your financial aid, and you're ready to go on to your school in the fall. When you apply for financial aid, what you do is go to this basic website. It's FAFSA.gov. So it's the government website is what the GOV is going to stand for. FAFSA in itself is your application. So this is just a screenshot of what you're going to see. As a student, you're going to start with a new FAFSA. But one of the things I'm going to notice up on the very, very top, do you see the little padlock with the FSA ID? That's one of the things that we're going to talk about next. The thing that you're going to want to do when you start the financial aid application is to complete the federal student aid ID. That's going to basically be your opportunity to be able to electronically sign your financial aid application, electronically sign your master promissory note, entrance counseling, know about your financial aid for the rest of your life. The federal government's going to track all of your financial aid. And so with your federal student aid ID, how you identify and authenticate yourself allows you access to all of your information tied to the federal student aid program. And so the FSAID.ed.gov website or at FAFSA website with the padlock, you can also go there. And basically, you're going to hit that very first tab where it says create an FSA ID. You want to create one for yourself and at least one parent. because as a dependent student, you'll provide parent information on your FAFSA, and the FSA ID for your parent is going to be how your parent signs your financial aid application electronically. What I encourage students to do is when you're going through that process is make sure that you click on the box that says show all text. So as you're typing your FSA ID, your password, all of your secret information, that you show that you're spelling everything correctly and write down, because you only use this typically once a year. And it's easy to be able to forget what your information is, and it's critically important that you maintain it. So I encourage you to write it down, tuck it in a safe place where you hide all of your passwords, and keep that available for future use. So when you talk financial aid is really a combination of a variety of funds. When you complete that free application for federal student aid, that's application for federal grants, which include a Pell Grant, it's an SUG grant, it's your application for state financial aid programs, including the Minnesota State Grant Program, as a group of other smaller grant programs. Scholars typically are going to want some information on financial applications. Sometimes your best resources for scholarships are going to be the colleges that you're planning on attending and the high schools that you're currently attending in the communities that you're in. Certainly, there's going to be large national scholarships and databases that you can go to apply for a variety of scholarship opportunities. Generally, students are going to have the best of luck with the scholarships that are local, that they've got personal connections to. In a students, no scholarship is too small. Even if the scholarship is $250, that covers probably half of your books for a semester. And so scholarships is important, and I encourage you to be applying for them. Generally, the time to be applying for scholarships is going to be right now. And so your guidance counselors to find out what scholarships could be available to you, talk to your parents, look at your community resources. Employment is another option that many students will take a look at. That's giving you the opportunity to actually work on campus. The idea of it is it's going to be a paycheck that allows you to be able to have some regular small income. It allows you to be able to stay connected with other people at the college. And it's an opportunity to be able to gain some work experience that is going to enhance your resume as you eventually go onto the workforce. And then it's going to be an option. So when you complete that free application for federal student aid, it's also your application for student loans. And so the federal government is going to offer student loans to you. They're going to offer a federal subsidized loan program, federal direct unsubsidized program, and a federal direct plus loan program. Different schools will offer you different loan programs based on their cost. Typically, receive your financial aid award notice from the colleges. The best financial aid programs are going to be on the top of the list. And go down the list, the ones on the bottom of the list are typically the less desirable ones. And you're very thoughtful about what student loans that you do need. Use them sparingly because you get to repay them when you get done with your education. We've got some information on those student loans repayments. Coming later slides. So with student aid, what you're going to find is that typically these are the information for students who are in school right now. Typically, those Pell Grants increase per year. There's currently legislation going through in Washington going to potentially increase the Pell Grant slightly for next year. But for students who are attending college right now, the maximum Pell Grant that they can receive is $5,920. And the grant doesn't change from school to school. Typically, of all of those school choices that you're looking at, your Pell Grant would remain the same no matter what your institutional costs are. Your loan programs typically are going to be very, very similar from school to school. The Educational Opportunity Grant, that's a grant, a fairly small program that schools have some funding under, but not a lot. So the amount that you would receive would range anywhere from $0 up to potentially $4,000 is the largest. I don't think that there's a lot of schools that actually offer $4,000 to individual students. Employment is going to vary based on the colleges that you're attending as well. But again, a combination of financial aid programs generally many students are going to receive as part of their financial aid award notice. The application for federal student aid, it's really described as like a tennis game, and the student, however, always serves the ball. And what happens is when you complete that free application for federal student aid, you've just served that ball going into the other court. And the other court is going to be the financial aid offices of the schools you're planning on attending. And a dialogue between you and the school about what additional information might be needed, making sure that you've applied for admission. If you're elected to provide additional information, that you've provided the additional information to the school before they can generate that financial financial aid award notice. But basically, the college and the financial aid office of the schools that you're planning on attending will guide you and walk you through that process. So they're going to be a great resource for you as you work through your financial aid application process. Once you complete your financial aid application, the federal government's going to send you an email about 3 days later that says your application's been processed. We're sending it to your schools. Your school should have it within the next couple of days. Your financial aid application, typically your high schools themselves have some good basic information about financial aid. They're a good resource for you. I've mentioned earlier that your financial aid office of the college that you're planning on attending can be a great source. The federal government also offers the toll-free number where you can call them and can answer some good questions as well. So there are a variety of resources to be available to help you. And some of the things that's important to know is you should never have to pay for financial assistance. There are patients and individuals out there who may charge money, but really you've got the resources in your hands and connected to you that you should not have to ever pay money to receive scholarships or financial aid to attend college. That's it. The end of my presentation.